Hello, hello, and happy Friday, everybody. It is Elisa James, performance coach here, and today we are talking about kids. How can I support my child through the emotional swings that are really hard to deal with? That's what we're talking about on today's show. Look, so many of us are homeschooling right now, and there's no end in sight for many of us. Sydney, Melbourne, there's so many people shut down or locked in. We're working full time, we're managing households, we're supporting and nurturing our partners, of course, and our children. But our children are also having a tough time. They're away from their family, they're away from their friends, sorry. They're locked inside many hours of the day. They're sitting on devices probably way too long and having to be homeschool self-directed, which is very hard for some kids. So look, times are really tough for many families out there. And that's why this week's show is so important. This week, I have a beautiful guest called Yolanda, who is the Empowered Parenting Coach. And Yolanda is a parenting guide and mentor, and she supports parents by taking them on an inner awareness journey aimed at raising their emotional awareness and getting them to take control of their own emotions as they raise emotionally resilient kids. Yolanda is the founder of Empowered Parenting and the author of Abundant Motherhood, empowering mums to empower their kids. Please welcome to the show today, Yolanda. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hello. It's a joy to be here. Always lovely to connect with you, Elisa. I love your energy and I love the tone of your voice. OMG.
Thank you. Well, it's great for you to be here. This is perfect timing. There's so many people, I would imagine. Divorce rates have gone up, anxiety has gone up. I think probably agoraphobia and panic attacks and things are going up because we've been locked in now for a long time and going through a lot of stress. So today it's all about how to support not only your child's big emotions, but probably our big emotions too, right? Because we're all feeding off each other.
We can't give what we don't have. That's key. If
Very
we are
true.
asking for our kids to be emotionally resilient, because that's what today's times, what we're going through, survival of the fittest in management of emotions, not really survival of the fittest to get our human needs met. That's fine. It's our emotional needs that we're questioning now.
Yeah.
It is really coming to be that time where it's survival of the emotionally fit, Elisa.
It's so true. You are so true. There are so many people that I see that are really struggling right now. And those people who are already probably heading towards depression or anxiety or, some mental unrest, if you like, emotional unrest, those
Yeah.
people a lot of them have gone downhill even further. Now, even us, the people that have been working on this for years and years who are quite manageable with our emotions and needs, it's been hard for everybody. It's been a really tough time for the last 18 months for everybody. So let's dive into how on earth did you start on this journey? What was your journey to get you here to be an empowered parenting coach?
Yeah. It's a question I ask myself. How did I get here? Absolutely love being here, but how did I get here? I'd like to say it was a lot to do with, it was very purpose driven, very passion driven. I love being a mom. When I had decided I would be a mom, I wasn't a mom. It took me 5 years to have my first child. I think that's
Wow.
when it all started. Uh, Being a mom started to become very prominent in my life, and then I was faced with a situation like a lot of parents face when they are in the midst of parenting and realize after they've had this big anger outburst and just pull their hair out, realized I had these two questions that I asked myself, which was a big turning point, was this was not the mom I envisioned to be. And
Mm.
with all my ranting and all my disappointment in my child that I'm projecting on this child, she has no freaking clue how much I absolutely love her and adore her because I haven't spent any time in that energy with her, not for a long time. So I think that's what really got me to realize, oh my God, what I'm doing here, I need to check in and change that. And as I did, Elisa, it didn't take time at all, which is what excited me. Once we make that decision to step up. And all this time, we've been asked to focus on the child. And when I realized, oh my God, the focus is me, not my
Mm-hmm.
child. As I shift and transform myself, my child transformed, which is why
Yeah.
the clients that I work with, I just wait for that chance, when that time, because as they come on this journey with me, the word starts to show up inevitably. Parents say to me, Elisa, this work is magic. All I did was work on myself, and my child magically changed. And all these years, I've been focusing on my child changing, and I had to do the work on me. And that was
Yeah.
easy. It's hard. It's the easiest thing to do because this is our locus of control. This is what we have control over.
That's so true.
Bring it
And
back to
that's
yourself.
all we have control over.
That's all. And once we master us, our own selves, we master the relationships around us.
Yeah. Bingo. I hope you wrote that down, everybody. That was magic. When we master our own selves, we can master the relationships around us. That is so true. When I
Yeah.
was a young child myself, having given birth at 18, I did everything wrong, Yolanda. I just rinsed and repeated what I knew from a stressed and, a bit emotionally explosive mother. And when I did that myself, that explosion and that not holding or controlling my own emotions made a massive impact on my poor kid. I didn't know what I was doing back then. So when we do that, things can explode and get out of control. Now that I'm much older and wiser and I have more emotional resilience, I have emotional intelligence that I didn't have, 30 odd years ago, I realize that this has a massive impact on all of our relationships. The way that we manage our own emotions and our own words, our own actions. And guess who's watching? Monkey see, monkey do. They pick it up very quickly. So yeah, I love the work that you're doing. It's so wonderful what you're doing. It's so important because those seeds that you're sowing will go on for decades.
That's
That's
right.
the beauty of what you do.
And if we don't pick it up in time, the seeds that have been sown in the last decades is what we are acting out. And we need to break this generational curse, is what I call it. It's a
Right.
curse. The anger, the anger outburst, the suppression of emotions, all of this is what we are suppressing, this low self-worth that we are projecting out on our kids and in our relationships. All of that comes back to us, and if we don't break that pattern, we can be bitter with our parents, but they were only doing what they've done, and you are doing what they've done. it's
Yeah.
not
Break the
it's not
chain.
unusual that I see parents say to me, I see my dad's anger come through me, and I have not seen my dad. I've disconnected from him for so long, yet his anger is playing out, Jolanda. And I said, that's where we need to break. This work is your inner work.
That's right. That's exactly right. And because all of that is laid very, very early in the foundation within the first 7 years, and people don't realize that by the time you get your mind together or whatever, 12 years later, it's too late. You've already sowed those seeds. You have to stop and you have to recalibrate.
That's
So
right.
it's
And
wonderful.
yeah, yeah. So
So what are some of the common problems that are coming up for you in your work all the time? What are these problems that people are facing?
so yes, the problem begins with the child not behaving and not listening, not following through, not motivated enough, resisting parenting. That's where it all starts. But it comes back to the chaos and the way the parent is managing themselves.
Yeah.
That's why working with emotions is what I do best. I'm a trained emotions coach, and my program is called Emotional Mastery for Parents, because that's where it begins and ends.
Love that.
Our only journey is our own self mastery, which is what
Yeah.
my program, Emotional Mastery for Parents, offers parents. It's a phenomenal program. It's very structured. It takes parents through 5 stages of where they are at to how they can come to their own management of emotions, to that calm in the midst of the storms of life. That's where parents need to be, because storms are going to come. The kids are going to
Oh,
make their choices.
absolutely.
How
Yeah.
you respond to them is going to allow them and allow you to be the parent that they absolutely need. They need you. As much as they say
Yeah.
they don't, what they need is a parent that manages their emotions. When they say they don't need you, it's your chaos that they don't need.
Very true. I love that. I hope this is really resonating with you if you're watching, because we need to really wake up to what we're doing, how we're thinking, how we're speaking, how we're affecting others. We are 100% responsible for our thoughts and our actions. And when we think that it's everybody else's fault, the way that we feel, we're not taking full responsibility. I
It's
think that as an adult, that's the biggest thing that we can teach ourselves, is to take that 100% responsibility, instead of saying, you made me angry, you did this wrong, I'm hurting because of what you did and because of what you said. The more that we do that, we're just giving away our power, and we're not
yeah,
taking control over our own emotions. So
yeah.
it's so
And I'd like to
important.
say that there would be truth. It's not that it's wrong. There is truth, but we're giving away our power at the same time. Let's step
Yeah,
back and
yeah,
let's question, where am I putting my energy? Out there on the problem, on, and that's when then my energy drops, my emotions drop, because we are giving away, and it's very disempowering, and
yeah.
it's very draining out emotionally.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
And a lot of
absolutely.
parents say, "Oh, I'm overwhelmed. I'm tired. I'm burnt out."
Yeah,
What that is really, so emotions are nothing but energy in motion. And the reason why we feel that low energy, not able to do, not able to stay on top, is because emotionally we have been deflated, and we're resonating and functioning in our families, around our kids, in the world, on very low, dense emotions.
yeah, I love that. Yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly how it feels, doesn't it? It feels heavy. It
Yeah.
feels heavy. Yeah.
When you
So
can't wake up from in get out of bed in the morning, and I was that parent, Elisa. I woke up uh, from bed one morning and crashed on the floor. My body just couldn't keep going.
yeah,
And that's the effect our emotions have. And the
yeah,
disease that comes into our body, that's where disease comes from.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Resonating on low emotions.
Yeah.
So really getting parents to come, and it starts to tick all of the boxes. The parents that I work with are doing amazing things today. They are not only having so much more fun with their kids are outperforming themselves, and they're even going on to live their own purposeful life, because they're no longer stuck in emotional dramas that lead to procrastination, that leads to this unfulfilled feeling. They're able to get back into their flow, because emotions are so key. I wish we were taught this in school.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Emotional intelligence is so important. So I know you've got 3 tips here. So we're going to start with, how can we support our kids through these big emotions? I know you've got 3 really great tips. So let's jump into these answers, if that's okay.
Lovely. Yes. So
Number
first,
1.
yeah, number one is to validate and listen. It is important for us as parents. We want to jump in and give the solution and get on, because we got 101 things to do. Validate where they are at. Listen. And how do we listen? Listen, Listen, is a jumble of the words silent. So
Ooh.
key to be silent. That's how we listen. So, and it allows us to be present and let go of those digital devices. When you're present, when you're connecting with your child, allow for time every day to connect with your child. 5 minutes, one-on-one time. They may still be on their devices, but you leave yours back. Be present, stay in your breath, validate, listen, encourage, hear them through. That's all. Our kids don't need us to jump in and give us solutions, because they don't want them from us yet. They haven't built that trust. Connection needs to happen before they can listen, and they can be silent and listen to what we have to say and the advice we need to give them.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful. And you're right. I think that a lot of us, we really action takers, and we want to step in and give a solution, and we want to talk and then coach and encourage and inspire and do all that. But you're right, sometimes people, children alike, of course, just need to be heard, just feel that their emotions are, it's okay to feel emotions. But as
That's
long as we
it.
don't divulge, or what's the word, indulge, as long as we don't indulge ourselves or our children in lingering in those bad emotions, because that's not going to help us move out of those, of course. But of course,
Absolutely.
for a moment of validation is really important, because I remember when my son was little, my husband at the time, he was very emotionally unavailable. And when my son used to lose his temper or throw something or whatever, he's showing frustration and anger because he wasn't allowed to express his emotions. He was then shut down by my husband, my ex-husband. He was shut down very quickly and was not heard. So none of his emotions were validated because he was shut down. He wasn't allowed to express his emotions. It
Yeah.
wasn't acceptable to
We were
my
raised,
husband.
yeah, we were raised to feel very unsafe around emotions because our parents had no clue
Mm.
how to take
Yeah,
us through. We weren't
very
taught.
true.
We
Yeah,
weren't taught, and
very,
we
very
hadn't
true.
been validating our own emotions. So how can we validate anybody else?
Exactly. And also, a lot of us grew up in that era where we weren't allowed to show emotion. So, okay, how dare you lose your anger, and how dare you speak to me like that? It's like,
Ooh,
well,
that's lovely. You mentioned anger. That's one of my
yeah,
favorite ones.
yeah, because
Anger
if
is a
they're getting angry,
beautiful
we're
emotion, and we
yep,
need to allow our kids to hold space for that emotion. It's at that
love
gateway
it.
which allow us to then ex- uh, bring ourselves to beautiful emotions of acceptance, of joy, of peace, of calm. We have to pass through anger. We don't know this, and people don't know this, and parents
That
need
is
to
so
know
true.
that
Yeah,
anger is a good one. When they feel angry, and yes, anger expressed safely. So this is what we
yeah,
do as well. We support parents to know how to express anger safely.
right. That's a
And
beautiful thing
once we
to.
can do that for ourselves, we give that to our kids, and our kids feel so safe. Connection and trust. There's just no way you can't go there when you have when you created a home where your child is allowed to safely express big emotions.
Yeah, I love that, because that's very, I've never heard of that spoken so beautifully, that anger is a good thing and is allowed to be expressed, because many of us weren't allowed to
No,
express anger as a child. I know I wasn't, and I
I
remember
wasn't either.
son
Correct.
not being allowed either. And then you end up swallowing all that anger and carrying it around in your body, and it becomes a lot of frustration and eventually resentment. And resentment can kill you and make all sorts of diseases manifest. It's horrible.
Absolutely. Which is why we've created a race, which is exactly the reason why we've created a race of people resonating on lower emotions. They're all sitting below anger because anger was never been taught to be safe to be
Wow,
expressed.
that's so
Because we can't
important.
pass unless we hold space for ourselves now. We can now
Yeah,
raise kids to be safe to express, that we can be resonating at higher levels of joy,
yeah,
acceptance, all of that. We've
I
not
love
given
that.
ourselves permission. It's time to step up. And I think COVID has allowed us to really go deep into where we are at, which is those dense
Yeah,
ones, and hit rock bottom. And once you hit rock bottom, the only way is up, which is what I believe our current, the anxiety and the stress that's going on is going to lead a lot of people to shift off that because they're hitting rock bottom and then they're questioning where they're at, which I think what's
yeah.
happening right now, as horrible as it seems, is a brilliant time.
Yeah, and any crash and burn can be a really big gift, because as they say, your message is in your mess. And we learn so
I
much
love
when
that.
we unpack that mess, because it does become a really big lesson in our lives. I learned so much from being married to the wrong person for 25 years. I learned so much about being a
Wow.
bad parent, and being a teenager and not knowing what the heck I was doing. I've learned so much from that and become a better person because of it. So all those adversities, we have to thank them sometimes, because they give us a huge lesson to become a better person.
I'm
And
glad
this
you
is
mentioned that,
another adversity.
Alyssa. That's it, exactly. If we can tilt the way or flip the way we are looking at our current adversity and
Yeah,
seeing at potential it's allowed us to have access to is phenomenal.
yeah, yeah. I agree. Absolutely agree.
And it's a choice.
So
We can go one way or we can go the other.
yeah, oh yeah, it is a choice. It's a choice. So number one is validate and listen. I love that tip. And number two is listen to your body. So tell me a little bit more about
Yeah.
that.
So listen to our body is about tuning in. And how we listen to our body is is via our breath.
Right.
So connect to our breath holds the answer to how we can listen to our body. And once we do, we hold space for our own emotions. We cannot give what we don't have. And unless and until we are holding space for our own emotions, we cannot hold space for our child. Unless and until we access and allow space for our own anger and our big emotions, we can't be giving that to our child. And the key to doing that is by listening to our own body. Our bodies have all the answers because our emotions live there.
Yeah.
Like to let parents know here that the that child that's triggering you, that relationship that's triggering you, those behaviors that are triggering you, the ammunition is in you. You
Mm,
are the common point. The triggers are happening outside of you, but the ammunition is here. So we need to listen to what is this person bringing up that I need to resolve in me. Because we
yeah.
are seeing the world, we are projecting.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely, all the time. And we
yeah,
notice that, and you said something about the breath, which is very important because you'll notice that when you get triggered, when we get triggered as human beings, the very first thing we do is hold our breath. And as a public speaking coach, I deal with this sort of stuff every single day because a lot of the time it's about being seen, about being heard or not being heard, being valued, being respected inside any relationship, whether that's work or whether it's personal life. The very first thing we do when we're triggered and we get anxious is we hold our breath. And then
mm,
usually when we're from that place, we can lash out or make a very bad decision, vocally speaking. So it's really great that if you listen to your body and tune in, it doesn't mean that you're going to listen to your body and go, "Arr, I'm going to lash out." It's
you
just,
can't.
no,
Yeah. Once
it's
you
not going to
listen,
help.
you've held space for the emotion and you're no longer reacting, you're now responding.
I love that. And this is what I worked with Paradise Kids on the Gold Coast for many years. It's a center for grief and loss and change. So they help families through these big changes in life. And I remember very clearly when I first started working with that organization as a coach there, they said, we don't help kids feel better. We help kids get better at feeling.
Beautiful.
Oh, that is so cool. So they help kids feel the feelings that they're feeling and being able to process that from a different place. And that's, I think,
Mhm.
very much in tune with what you're saying as an adult, is that we can feel our feelings and then have time to respond instead of react.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, very important
beautiful.
part of this of managing your child's big emotions. Hold space for yours. Watch
Yeah,
what's coming up. So when my I do this, even though I do this every day and night through my work, I experience that as a parent as well. So I've got a 16-year-old and now a 21-year-old who's passed through those teen years. So it's so valuable even for me, despite doing it every day. Sometimes I question it and think, oh my god, if it's something that I need to still be so aware of, imagine the parents that I work, how valuable is this for them to just know that it's such a powerful part of the process of supporting big emotions. Is we need to give it to ourselves first,
yeah,
listen silently to our own body by using our breath as a channel and feeling into what's coming up for me. And it breaks our otherwise response, our flight response
Fight or flight.
response
Yeah.
that we are, yeah, fight or flight response. We're either attacking back or we're shutting off.
Oh, yes.
So this allows us to be present and speak our truth.
Yeah.
Vulnerability comes from here
Yeah.
because we've held space for what's coming up within us.
Yeah.
We're no longer making fight or flight decisions. We're being so present and
Yeah.
being
And that's
okay to feel.
exhausting. That dance is exhausting. Attack, defend, attack, defend, attack, defend, thrust, parry, thrust, parry. It's exhausting. It's so exhausting. It takes so much more control, but it is so much more rewarding when we just breathe and hold space.
Mhm. And when we do this, when we give this, do this to ourselves and honor ourselves, we give permission to the other person in that relationship to do the same. We
Yeah.
allow them to be vulnerable. We
Yeah.
allow them to honor themselves because we've chosen to honor ourselves. What a beautiful
Yeah.
gift.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And tip number 3, we've got confidence and trust.
Yeah, so this ties in nicely because once we start learning and practicing more of this, is where we start to have greater trust in ourselves. We are confident as a parent. And can you imagine being raised by a parent who had trust and confidence in themselves?
Mm.
How would you be? Trust and confidence in yourself as well. As we have trust and confidence in ourselves, we look for ways because we are always projecting as parents what we're
Mm.
seeing in our kids. Like with me, the disappointment that I was feeling with my older daughter, then 9, where that light bulb moment happened for me that I realized, oh my God, was I was able to see, oh my God, that was me. It was
Mhm.
my disappointment in myself that I was projecting on this child. She didn't deserve that whole outburst that I was projecting on her because she was a child. I felt I could, it was okay for me to project that on her. My partner at the time was retaliating, so couldn't do that there. There I was shutting down. In my fight or flight, I was shutting down with him. But with my child, I was going full blown.
Yeah.
I was the
Yeah.
center point. It was my
Yeah.
own disappointment in my own self. It was my own lack of self worthiness. So once I shifted that focus towards me, that's when the change started to happen in her. And yes, me too.
Yeah.
Confidence and trust is the journey.
Yeah.
And as you do, you give your kids the biggest gift of a parent who absolutely trusts and has confidence in themselves, which then allows them to see and project that on their child. As you're
Yeah.
raising a child that feels your trust and confidence in them no matter what,
Yeah.
how far can they divert from the path? How far can they be away from their own alignment to their own truth?
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. This is such great tips, guys. I hope you're taking notes. Let's just go through the tips one more time. Validate and listen. Tip number 2, listen to your body and your breath and see what's coming up and hold space for that. Honor that inside your own body so you can then give that gift to somebody else. And then tip number 3 is confidence and trust. This is so beautiful. Now, look, if you're watching this live on whatever platform, underneath this video, all you have to do is put a comment or put hashtag replay, and we'll be able to answer the questions for you. Both Yolanda and I will be on Facebook and also on YouTube after the broadcast is over, and we will make sure that we check and answer any of the questions that you have. If you need to get in contact with Yolanda because you're struggling as a parent right now and you need that support and help, please find her on Facebook. It's Empowered Parents Group on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, just pop over there and just type it into the search bar and you'll find her group. And if you're watching this on YouTube, we'll put these comments underneath as well. You can find her on www.empoweredcoaching.com.au. Empowered Coaching, very easy to remember. So thank you so much for joining us today. It's such a joy to have you here and have your energy and enthusiasm and love to share with the world. That you're making such a huge difference, and we really appreciate you, because your energy and your teaching is going to be left behind as your legacy after you've
Absolutely.
long gone, and so many people are going to be affected by that. So we thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Elisa. It's been a pleasure to be part of your your Voice of Confidence group here.
You're very, very welcome. It's lovely to have everybody here, whoever's watching live and whoever's watching the replay. It was great to have you here. We hope you learned something. Whatever you've learned, just pop it below the video that you're watching. We would love to support you on the journey. Have a
That's
wonderful
right.
weekend, and we'll see you next time.
See
Bye.
you soon. Bye.